No lights, no cameras, no television magic this time. Only the unvarnished, unedited weight of a courtroom. Walls weighted with tension, air thick as the storm before it breaks. Every file, every whispered objection was like smoke masking something darker. Christine sat at the plaintiff's table, hands solidly resting on the same blue binder she had carried to every hearing. She did not blink, did not flinch, but her tension radiated out like heat from a body. Across the room, Cody sat stiff in a jacket now too tight for him, jaw clenched, arms crossed in anticipation of a blow. He had not even looked her direction since 9 a.m. when the gavel struck. His eyes flicked only to the judge, the clerk, or Robin, who sat behind him with her fists clenched. The judge, serious-faced, the same who had presided over the financial audit weeks before, leaned forward. His voice intruded into the quiet. "We are present to determine the true ownership of the Coyote Pass properties, and whether fraud, coercion, or misrepresentation had occurred in their conveyance." And right then, Cody blinked. A flicker, fear, anger, or maybe the moment reality finally hit him. This wasn't about family squabbles or tears or old betrayals. Today was about deeds, dirt, and how one man who once preached equality may have divided Coyote Pass in secret. Christine didn't move, but her lawyer rose, laying a yellow folder on the table. "Your Honor," he said firmly, "we're ready." He unfolded the folder, retrieved a creased survey map, and removed it to the bench. "This," he declared, "is the latest parcel designation for Coyote Pass, as found in Flagstaff County Record Number 83,792B. Date filed July 11th, 2022 by Mr. Cody Brown, and without the knowledge or approval of the other trustees." Cody's head snapped up. Robin's hand leapt to her lips. The courtroom did not burst apart. It collapsed into a silence so rough it seemed to hum. The judge rode his glasses up the ridge of his nose, eyes snapping over the map. "Are you saying," he said without looking up, "that this splitting up of land was done behind doors?" Christine's lawyer did not flinch. "Yes, and the report shows 82% of the property, i.e., the only 2 tracts that had well access, flowed into a shell trust in the name of Robin Brown." Robin winced visibly. The crash of that revelation shook through each corner of the room. Christine sat frozen, but her eyes burned Cody, as if someone who'd lived too long in hiding now saw the man who profited from it. Cody's voice broke loud in the court. "I wasn't hiding it. I was protecting it." But the judge raised a hand. "You will respond when asked, Mr. Brown, not first." Cody slumped forward anyway, knuckles in a tight fist. But Christine's lawyer went on. "We have email exchanges too," he said, "between Mr. Brown and a property manager. These reveal his plan to sell chunks of Coyote Pass to use for renovations on Robin's home without revealing it to the other wives who jointly owned it." Robin slumped over, speaking in Cody's ear. His jaw muscles tightened again. Then the binder appeared again. A post-it note marked CP Redesign 2022 yielded to a silver, unobtrusive flash drive, but the room was on its collective breath as the technician manipulated the screen. The judge glanced once at Cody, now sweating, and nodded once. The screen flickered, and the voices poured into the room. Robin's shaking whisper, "You're sure we can't tell her? Christine's sure to hear sooner or later." And Cody's flat, hard voice, "They don't know land law. They don't need to. They're not going to ever get across." The courtroom did not gasp. The courtroom sighed. The silence was alive, and the weight of every word drew it deeper. The tape just kept rolling. Cody laughed low and cold. "If we say it's for family, it's family. Nobody does any questioning, least of all Christine. She stopped asking questions years ago." The screen went dark. Robin glared down at the ground. Christine sat stiffly upright, binder closed like a coffin. The judge's voice cut clean. "Mr. Brown, do you recognize those voices?" Cody's jaw tightened. Yes, but that was a private conversation. The judge didn't blink. Private, perhaps, but not privileged. This has to do with property that's tied up with more than one party. Cody growled. It's out of context. You're interpreting everything. Christine interrupted finally, soft but stern. Nobody interpreted anything out of context. You just never imagined we'd ever be able to get our hands on the tape. For the first time, Christine's eyes met Robin's haunted ones, and for the first time, Cody seemed to be trapped, not by enemies, but by what he himself said. Mark the audio as Exhibit C, the judge instructed. Let's proceed to the emails next. Cody's mouth opened, but the judge silenced him with a raised hand. Mr. Brown, this is a courtroom, not a reunion special. No commentary, no sighs, no complaints. Speak only when spoken to. The room stilled again. Christine didn't move, but everyone knew she had more. Much more. Her lawyer produced a thick manila folder. Your Honor, Exhibit D, email communications between Mr. Brown and a Flagstaff contractor who received a $39,000 payment wired to him from the master account of the family in December of 2020. The judge raised an eyebrow. And what was that payment for? The reaction was immediate. Upgrades to Robin Brown's home theatre and kitchen, stone countertops, custom surround system, high-end finishes, all paid for without the consent or knowledge of the other co-owners. The silence that followed wasn't a silence. It was a silence of a truth, finally its own private shivering march into the light. The problem wasn't the renovation, it was timing. That $39,000 payment had been made just 4 days after Cody had told his family there would be no Christmas this year, because, he had explained, money was too tight. The words are a bolt of lightning. Robin gasps aloud. Cody slams his fist on the table. Objection! That's a gross mischaracterization. But before he can continue, the gavel crashes like thunder. Mr. Brown, one more explosion, and you will be in contempt. Cody slumped back, face burning with fury and no escape. Christine simply lifted her eyes to his, not with triumph, not with revenge, but with something harder. Clarity, she breathed. You told us we had nothing, that we couldn't even give the children a tree, and yet you built Robin a secret movie room. The courtroom screens flashed with the evidence. Dated emails, signed, conclusive. In one, Cody instructed the contractor, send updates to this email only. Don't CC anyone else. In another, a bank receipt bore his initials, a handwritten notation alongside them. Keep this on the down low until after the holidays. The silence was heavy. Christine's attorney pointed to the screen. This is the pattern, Your Honor. Phony allegations of poverty while secretly draining funds into renovations on one home. It's all here, documented tab by tab. Robin's face blanched. Mary glanced down at the table. Janelle folded her arms across her chest. But Cody just shook his head slowly, eyes glazed, as if reality itself was fleeing his grasp. The judge hunched forward. Was the money drawn from the joint family account? Christine's lawyer did not flinch. Yes, to the best of our knowledge, only Robin and Cody had knowledge of it. The judge turned around. Did you sanction this transfer, Mr. Brown? Cody's voice trembled. Yes. And in that single word, Coyote Pass started coming apart at the seams before him. But Christine's attorney wasn't finished. He reached into the binder again, pulling out a folder marked only by a red paperclip. He waved it around. Exhibit E, Your Honor, a signed affidavit from Mrs. Talia Ridge, Senior Manager, South Canyon Credit Union. Cody stiffened, his body humming with tension like a strung wire ready to break. Robin touched his arm, but he didn't respond. His mind was already racing with all the backroom deals, all the names that would come out. Christine's lawyer spoke with exactitude. Mrs. Ridge noted 2 suspicious withdrawals of $58,000 and $43,000, both deposited into a newly created joint trust, Brown Future Holdings, created under Robin Brown's social security number with Cody Brown as trustee. The room fell silent. Even the court reporter looked up, horrified. The judge asked, "And what did those funds finance?" Receipts appeared on the screen. First, a luxury SUV bought free and clear in Robin's name. Second, a down payment into escrow on 5 acres just north of Coyote Pass. The judge's brow creased. "Is that piece included in the initial family trust?" Christine's attorney shook his head. "No, Your Honour, it was recorded separately. The only beneficiaries are Robin Brown and Cody Brown, under an LLC covering ownership." Gasp and whispers ripple across the courtroom. Janelle hovers over Mary's shoulder, whispering, "That's why he informed her that the loan was denied. It wasn't." Christine did not blink. She turned another page in her binder methodically, leaving her signature. Her attorney continued, "When Mrs. Ridge questioned Mr. Brown regarding the withdrawals, he explained to her they were for long-term family preservation." Unsaid. His own words, "They don't need to know until they're in a better emotional place." The judge's mouth stretched a bit, then shut up in a frown. "Undefined, Mr. Brown. Do you not concede making that statement?" Cody's voice barely issued from his throat. "I don't remember." His eyes, however, did him in. He did remember. Too well. Christine remembered too. She had existed in the silence he spun, accounted for like an entry on a ledger. But her binder brought to light the tale he never thought would see the day. She flipped to a page titled Family Land Agreement 2018. The document was tattered, but the signatures readable. Christine Brown, Janelle Brown, Mary Brown, and Cody Brown. A space left blank where there was to be a 5th one. The judge read it slowly. "This appears to be a signed contract that Coyote Pass would remain in joint ownership until completion of the development, or a member voluntarily relinquished claim. 4 signatures here. Who wouldn't sign?" Christine's attorney didn't hesitate. "Robin Brown, Your Honour. She refused the provision against resale or consolidation." Robin sprang up indignantly. "That is not true." The gavel cracked like a whip. "Mrs. Brown, sit down. One more outburst and you will be held in contempt." Robin trembled, clutching Cody's arm. But this time he shook her off, not aggressively, but preservation of himself. Christine's attorney went on. "Despite Robin's protests, the arrangement was completed. For 4 years, nothing altered, until 2022, when Mr. Brown began signing things in Robin's name without consulting the others." A timeline appeared on the screen, stark and gut-wrenching. Cody lost his temper. "That was my property. I brokered that contract. I built that trust. I built this family." His voice shook the walls, veins pulsating in his neck. But the judge didn't flinch. "Mr. Brown, another fit and I'll have you removed. This is a courtroom, not a pulpit." But it arrived too late. The mask had cracked. The fury had spilled out. And with it, the unavoidable truth of his own powerlessness. Christine's voice was steady, almost fragile in tone, but edged with steel. "We signed because we trusted you. She didn't because she never had to." The judge came forward. "And what does this court intend to do with this contract?" Christine did not move. "Enforce it, retrieve the land that was stolen, and hold him accountable for the promises he made to shut us up." In that instant, the courtroom was witnessing not just the breakdown of a family, it was witnessing the breakdown of a legacy. Christine remained still, her fingers clutching the blue binder. She had known this moment was coming. Cody shifted. His heel tapped against the floor like a metronome, the rhythms counting down to explosion. The doors opened wide. In came Flagstaff land developer Mr. Lee Armstrong. No nonsense, businesslike, folder tucked into pocket. His file was not nearly as thick as Christine's binder, but it carried the weight of a hammer hanging poised for a drop. Under oath, Armstrong replied unequivocally, Mr. Brown approached me in May 2022 with an offer to sell 2 parcels of Coyote Pass land. He told me they were held in his private trust and could be sold immediately. He offered a below-market cash price on the condition that it must be done quickly, before, as he said, the women got nosy. Robin was amazed. Mary's mouth dropped open. Janelle muttered under her breath, "He actually said that." Armstrong opened the letter, Cody's signature, embossed under a new trust name, Solstice Legacy Group. Christine's lawyer gasped. This trust had been formed only 2 weeks prior to the offer. It excludes all of the wives but Robin, who was named co-trustee with full authority. Cody erupted. It wasn't going through. It was just boilerplate. The judge dismissed him, waving the bailiff to bring the letter. The facts were tall now. Christine's attorney drove home the point. Not only was Mr. Brown attempting to sell land to all 4 wives, but he did so through a trust that eliminated their names and left just his and Robin's. The judge's gaze settled on Cody. "Were you attempting to deprive your wives of their legal title to Coyote Pass without their knowledge?" Cody stuttered. I was just protecting it. You wouldn't understand. They were never going to utilize it." Christine stood up, her tone cut like broken glass. "We weren't supposed to use it, Cody. You said it wasn't ready. You said the taxes weren't paid. You said it was for the family. But what you were saying was, it was for her." There was silence. Total. Even Robin sat motionless, aghast. The judge's voice was firm but unyielding. "This court acknowledges the offer in bad faith as proof of intention to defraud. We shall now consider the financial impact." Christine took a seat again, binder but still unopened. She did not need to glance through another page. The truth had already poured out. The air shifted. No longer tense, it hissed, hard and explosive, like steam before an explosion. Cody crouched down, compact now, eyes wildly scanning for an exit that was not there. Then the next witness's name, and Robin's reply said it all. Her fists clutched her purse as though she could store the truth inside. "Call Ms. Leah Strand, licensed forensic accountant." She walked in confidently, a navy blazer, a cool expression, and a steel-piercing file. She had witnessed financial crimes previously, but this wasn't business theatre. This was family devastation. Christine's lawyer started, "Mrs. Strand, summarize your conclusion from your review of the Brown family financial documents." Without hesitation, she stated, "Between 2020 and 2023, I located 4 accounts in the Cedar Light Holdings name, all linked to the same escrow fund with deposits of over $420,000. None of the accounts were listed in the family's mediation asset reports." Robin sat up in her seat. The room gasped. Christine scrunched up her eyes. She already knew. The judge questioned, "And who signed these accounts?" Ms. Strand unfolded her report. "Robin Brown and Cody Brown, no other individual." Christine's lawyer moved forward. "And the fund source?" "Primarily TLC royalty payments, digital income through YouTube and Cameo, and fan contributions. What is notable is that these deposits were diverted away from the family trust starting mid-2021. Robin stood up. "That money wasn't—" "Sit down, Mrs. Brown," the judge ordered. The courtroom grew quiet as Ms. Strand continued, unflappable. "The money was used for real estate down payments, tuition to private schools for Robin's children, and a high-end renovation by Platinum Concepts." Christine's whisper reached the microphone, harsh and devastating. "My daughter underwent surgery that year. You said we could not afford insurance." Mary covered her mouth with her hand. Janelle had clenched fists. Robin trembled, suspended between denial and prostration. "In your expert opinion," Christine's lawyer asked, "were these acts deceptive?" Ms. Strand remained impassive. "Yes, this was vintage asset diversion." The judge sighed heavily, eyes on the report. "Enter Exhibit G into the record. Restitution will be determined later." Cody did not look at Robin, did not look at anyone. His hands were shaking marginally as he pinched the bridge of his nose, reeling from a reality he could not rewind anymore. Christine's binder was still shut. All the pages she needed had already been established. The rest, the repercussions, were inevitable. The judge called for a recess, 10 minutes, but no one moved. No one was willing to stand, fearing to break the fragile surface of reality that had just filled the room. Robin sat frozen, her eyes blank, muttering under her breath. Cody sat silently, shrinking in his chair, his empire dissolving strand by strand. The silence in the courtroom grew heavier with each passing second. The escrow account had been revealed, but Cody said nothing, not a word. And yet, that silence wasn't comforting. It was the eerie calm before a violent storm. Just as the clerk prepared to summon the next witness, Christine stood. Her voice, soft but unwavering, carried across the room. "Your Honor, I'd like to provide my testimony now." The judge nodded once. "Proceed." She walked slowly to the center of the courtroom. No lawyer beside her, no binder in front of her, no speech. This was Christine, raw and unrepentant at last. "I stayed," she began sternly, "because I felt I was building something. I lived with the debt, the moves, children raised with the message that love must be earned through silence. I felt in the dream he promised us. Coyote Pass was not land. It was hope. It was the future." The courtroom was silent. Too silent. But whenever I asked where the money had been spent, I was said not to trust him. Whenever I asked him, I was said to be ungrateful. And whenever Robin was given something, we were told it was part of a family plan. She locked eyes with the judge. There was no family plan. There was only Robin's plan. Cody kept us too poor, too distant, or too loyal to resist. Robin gasped. Nobody else reacted. The room was silenced. Christine continued. "I spent money from my house in Arizona for paying property tax. I signed my name over on loans so he could purchase land. And I kept every receipt, every email, because I knew one day I'd need proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy, that the gaslighting, the money, the lies needed to be proven." She produced from her pocket a small creased picture. This was the first sketch of our dream, where Janelle, Mary and I would own homes, where the kids would play, where we'd retire. And he filed a secret trust to put it all in his name within the same week. Her voice broke. For the first time, it cracked. "I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for repair. Because if he walks out of here with the land he stole, then every woman watching, every woman who stayed quiet, small, loyal, will learn that silence isn't punished, it's rewarded." The judge slumped back, shaken. Anger flickered in his eyes. The room held its breath. But Cody couldn't. He snapped. "Distorting everything," he shouted, springing to his feet. "You're the victim. I constructed this family. I worked. I made sacrifices. You complained and journaled in your little binder." Christine's gaze didn't waver. "And that little binder, Cody, is what you're being heard for finally." The gavel came down. The courtroom descended into pandemonium. Cody's voice no longer rang. It burst, shattering the fragile order. He shouted, his face red, his body shaking. "Why would I lie? Why would I divide the land? Why would I do this for Robin? I was the only one who cared about this family." Christine didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence was more powerful than his rage. "Sit down, Mr. Brown," the judge ordered. Cody was nevertheless beyond control, waving toward the gallery like a fire and brimstone evangelist hashing his flock. "I gave up everything for these women, and this is what I get. Betrayal, lawyers, binders." The bailiff moved further forward. Robin buried her face in her hands. "Enough," the judge bellowed, banging his gavel down once more. "Mr. Brown, you are held in contempt. You will be removed and detained until this hearing concludes." Cody froze, a terror-stricken look on his face. No, you can't remove me. I am this family." But the judge didn't flinch. "Bailiff," The doors swung wide open. 2 officers entered, striding. Cody stepped backward, arms raised, pleading desperately. "Christine, tell them this isn't what you wanted." But Christine stood motionless, her eyes fixed ahead. The officers led him away. His screams echoed, then were muffled as the thick doors slammed shut behind him. The stillness afterward was dreamlike, unreal. Then the judge slowly swung his head to Robin. "Mrs. Brown," he went on, in low, even tones, "inasmuch as you have a personal financial interest in the accounts before you, you will now take the stand." Robin's lips trembled. Nostrils smudged mascara downwards. She collapsed, limp, like severed marionette strings. She part, and the courtroom doors creaked again, this time slowly. The bailiff stepped forward, holding a sealed envelope. "For your honor, delivered by courier, marked confidential." The judge read the label, his brow furrowed. He opened it, paused, and stood frozen. The room could feel it. Something monumental had just entered. "Simply this," he declared, holding the envelope up, "shifts the course of these proceedings." Christine's attorney's eyes flew up. Robin collapsed into tears, and the court waited for a turn no one could imagine. The judge went through the material, each line furrowing his brow. The silence was thick with tension. At last, he spoke. "This court has been presented with a complaint from an anonymous complainant, backed up by authenticated ledgers and notarized affidavit. It speaks clear-cut evidence of a second trust, Future Growth Holdings, established in Nevada in Robin Brown's birth name." The news hit like lightning. Christine blinked. Mary sat bolt upright. Janelle gulped, her breath caught. The judge continued. "This trust has received no fewer than 6 wire transfers, with a total value of over $680,000 since 2021. None were disclosed in filings in this court," Robin snapped. "Totally." The courtroom was quietly smothering. Robin's voice cracked first, high-pitched and agonized. "It wasn't for me," she screamed. "It was for the children. Cody said it was the only thing to save them from dying." Christine stood up slowly, her face white and set. "You said we couldn't afford a water meter," she said, her voice cutting through the air like broken glass. "And you were sitting on $500,000. Robin wept, shaking her head. "I didn't want this. Cody pressured me to sign. I had no idea what the trust in my name was for." Christine did not scream. She did not accuse. She merely said the words that cut deeper than any lawyer ever could. "You knew enough not to tell us." The judge handed over the sealed papers to the bailiff, who distributed copies. Cold, clinical was his tone. These funds were used for personal debt settlement, college savings account, and a number of prepayments on property near Coyote Pass. Papers designate Robin Brown as sole beneficiary and Cody Brown as attorney of record. Christine's lawyer proceeded immediately. "Your Honor, in light of this discovery, we request immediate injunctions against any further groundwork under Robin Brown or trusts in her name until this can be properly investigated." One gavel fell from the judge's hand. "Granted. From today, all Coyote Pass lots and all nearby northern lots are under the protection of the court." Robin's mouth opened and closed in stunned shock. The judge's eyes locked onto her. "This court will call the confidential source to testify, and Mrs. Brown, if evidence shows you knowingly engaged in deception, criminal charges won't be out of the question." The courtroom was no longer a courtroom for the first time. It had become a reckoning. Christine's binder, now shut, rested on her lap. She was finished with her work, but there was one thing remaining, the ruling. The bailiff returned, walking Cody into the room. His face was pale, drained. Whatever fury had consumed him earlier had burned itself empty. He returned to the table, his face blank, his voice gone. Robin didn't glance at him. She couldn't, not now. The judge leaned forward, hands locked on the bench. His voice came firm, conclusive. This court has reviewed over 127 pages of financial information, land contracts, private letters, and notarized affidavit. What we have witnessed is not a family feud. It is a calculated manipulation of the common property for the benefit of two individuals at the expense of three. He looked directly at Cody and Robin. The evidence of secret trust, diverted funds, backdoor land sales, and deliberate concealment is compelling and disturbing. Cody closed his eyes. Janelle grumbled softly. This is it. The judge delivered the blow with a hammer. Immediate effect. 1. All of the original parcels of Coyote Pass revert back to their 2018 ownership configuration, split equally between Christine, Janelle, Mary, and Cody Brown. 2. All offers, sales, or trusts entered into after July 2021 are revoked. 3. Robin Brown is divested of all interest in Coyote Pass property, subject to further examination. Robin inhales deeply, then buries her face in her hands. But the ruling wasn't completed. In addition, this court orders a total examination of the family income of the Brown family. Restitution hearings will be scheduled regarding the $680,000 of misspent funds uncovered by this trial. Mr. Brown, due to your contempt charge and fraud involving money, your rights in property decisions are suspended until that examination. Cody stood up, his voice cracking. You can't do that with that land. That land is my inheritance. The judge blinked not. Mr. Brown, your legacy was that land. You traded it away, and now it will be returned to those you betrayed. Christine rose at last. One tear ran down her cheek, not for sorrow, but liberation. We never pursued vengeance, she said softly. We just wanted the truth to count again. The judge nodded once. Judgment is final, adjourned. The gavel crashed down. Christine exhaled. Janelle grasped her hand. Mary sobbed in silence. And Robin. She pulled tighter into her seat, mascara streaks on her face, utterly alone. The courtroom emptied. Cody remained motionless, staring at the vacant bench upon which the judge had been seated. The quiet that surrounded him no longer was respect. It was the quiet that follows a man who has been removed from power, believability, and the facade of control. Coyote Pass was never truly his. And now the world knew.